Okay,
This conference will now be recorded.
She is.
Okay, it is 6:32 p.m. and we are moving into our regular meeting of the Rhome City Council, Thursday, August the 12th. This is a telephone conference. Its notice is hereby given in accordance with the order of the Office of the Governor issued March 16th, 2020, and most recently extended until August 31st, 2021. We'll conduct our regular meeting by telephone conference in order to advance the public health goal of limiting face-to-face meetings. So the meeting is closed into in-person attendance by the public. Now, who knows, second information, September, we should be back to open meetings, but the way the world is going around us, that may change, but we will go ahead and proceed with tonight's meeting. We have a quorum, and Shannon, you want to do a roll call?
Sure. Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McCabe.
Here.
Thank you. And Councilmember Ty is absent. Councilmember Priest.
Here.
Councilmember Eason.
Hello?
Thank you. Councilmember Majors.
I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm late.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor, we do have a quorum.
Okay, and Shannon, do we have any public presentations for tonight?
No, ma'am.
Under the
I have
council.
speakers for the public hearing, but nothing for public presentations.
Okay, and then we will move to announcements from the mayor and the council. I want to personally thank Chief DeBus for our first of many to come, Coffee with a Cop. It was a good gathering, and I think it was a very good social move. Secondly, all you guys know, we have a social media policy. As representatives of our city, please remember to only post in a positive manner when you choose social media. We are in a growth mode and do not want to give developers or citizens a negative look at our city. Does any council people have an announcement? Geez, y'all are quiet tonight. The thing, okay, we will move to the consent agenda, which tonight that includes the minutes of City Council special session dated July the 29th, 21. Shannon has presented those in our packet. Do I hear a motion to accept those? Okay, Josh is making a motion, and I bet somebody's doing a second. I don't see a second hand. Elaine seconded it. So, Shannon, let's vote.
Mayor Pro Tem McCabe.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Priest.
Aye.
Councilmember Eason.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Majors.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, now we'll move on to the monthly staff reports and board minutes. Does anybody want to pull off anything off of that? Geez, y'all are easy tonight. So we'll move on to the public hearing. We will, Tarvin, do I need to close this meeting or just suspend it while we do the public hearing?
No, Your Honor, this meeting will continue. You'll just announce the public hearing is open.
Okay, we will now open the public hearing. We have two items on the public hearing, D and E. D is City Council to conduct a public hearing to consider a request for annexation by the City of Rome of one tract of land, legal description being acres 3.600 abstract A634, MEP and PRR, and is located on the southeast corner of US Highway 287, northbound Service Road, and BC Rhome. It is contiguous to the current city limits of Rhome, just west of Taco Casa, located at 201 School Road, Rhome, Texas. E, the City Council is to conduct a public hearing to consider a request for change in zoning of those two tracts of land to planned development. Tract 1, and I'll read this one time, legal description being 3.600 abstract A634 MEP and PRR, and is located on the southeast corner of US Highway 287 northbound road in BC Rhome, just west of Taco Casa at 201 School Road. Currently, it is zoned agriculture. The second part of this is tract 2, legal description, being legal acres 1.253, lot 1, block 1, subdivision Taco Casa Rhome edition, abstract A634, MEP and PRR, and is located on the southeast corner of US Highway northbound 287 Service Road and BC Rhome, just west of Taco Casa, located at 201 School Road. Currently, that portion is zoned retail. And Shannon, do we have public input tonight?
Yes, ma'am, we do. I want to mention the first one is the public hearing notification response that we received from William Reed, and he is in favor of the proposed request. And then we have two speakers. The first one is Tommy Eason. Tommy, when you're ready, please.
Tommy, you're mute. There
Okay,
you go.
thank you. Good evening to all. My name is Tommy Eason, and I live at 1107 Mount Lane. This is a poor decision. 5 gas stations are enough for this small of an area. After moving here 8 years ago, I heard overwhelming opinions from the citizens of this town. I want to keep the small town feel. Putting gas stations all over this little area doesn't support keeping Rome with a small town feel. When we had a gas shortage a few years ago, the Big Z stopped selling to the public so that Rome Fire Department and Police Department could have enough gas to get around and help our citizens. That is what gives you a small town feel. From tonight's packet, I see QT will have a sign 125 feet tall, with the sign itself being 27 by 32 feet on top of that hill. That's a lot of screaming bright lights way up in the sky. This further makes Rome look like a truck stop town. The roads are already being torn up because of all the big trucks. We're trying to pass a $4 billion bond to fix the roads. 4 million, I'm sorry, 4 million. Be honest with yourself. Are you bringing in QT to help progress the city with a small town feel? Or are you trying to increase revenue? With the growth that is coming, the revenue will come. Don't sell the future for the money that you see right in front of you. Just something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next speaker is Shirley Mize. Shirley, when you're ready, please.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Mize. I live at 170 Russell Street, and I just wanted to voice my opinion on the annexing for the city of Rome and also the zoning change, and I'm in favor of it. And my husband will speak later. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor, that is all we have.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and anyone that's out here that wants to speak or offer comments, let us know, please. Mr. Mize, were you wanting to comment?
Yes, I'm in favor of it.
Okay, anybody else want to comment? If no
I'm
one
Dana
else,
White.
yes.
I would like to comment. Yes, I'm in favor of it too.
Okay, thank you.
Could you
Anybody?
give your name?
There's-
I'm sorry. The woman that just spoke, I need your name.
Dana White.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Liz Daniel Wilson. I live at 240 West First. I think it would be a tremendous access to our city and available to places to eat, go shop, and not have any impact on surrounding stations or houses as well. Thank you.
Anybody else? I think I just spoke over somebody. Is there anybody else that wants to comment before we move on? Now, we are combining items D and E, which both relate to QT. So we're moving on to back to the regular agenda. And we will take these two items we just talked about, which are F and G, on our regular agenda.
Mayor,
And
if I could interrupt you, if you go ahead and close the public hearing and note the time.
okay, I'm sorry, Carvin. Okay, we are closing the public hearing at 6:44 p.m. August the 12th, 21, and we're going back to our regular agenda under new business. And there are two items on here, F and G, which is what we just discussed in the public hearing. And our city administrator will speak from there.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Well, as you know, we are the council and staff have been working with QT and their desire to locate a store on the two tracks that have been described. Obviously, annexation comes first. One of those tracks is currently zoned retail. One of those tracks, once the annexation takes place, will come in to a default of ag, and that ag and the retail would then, the request is to take them to a planned development. As a reminder, the planned development zoning itself allows for flexibility in structure and using the components of the actual of planned development zoning district to create a unique, all-encompassing and ruling planned development ordinance that is unique to that request. We have right now, we do have Bywell as a planned development in our community. We do have another one in process, and that's the Sahihi property that is in process right now. We have had in the past, that is still in place, the Prairie Point Planned Development District. So this right now would be the third one that would come online. Sahihi would be the fourth one. P&Z did meet on August 2nd. And they recommended approval of the request contingent upon the annexation. And we do have representatives from Quick Trip that are here today. And Craig, are you online?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to share my screen while you talk, or were you going to need to share your screen for your, he's got a short, Craig Honeywell is with QT Quick Trip, and he's going to give a short presentation.
I'd prefer to share if I could, Cynthia, but if I'm unable to, I believe you have my file.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to make you the presenter, and you should be good to go right now.
All right. Can you see my screen all right?
Yes.
Very well.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I appreciate your time here. I believe most of council is familiar with this project as we've discussed it in the previously working through the pre-development meeting and nailing down some of the initial development concerns. Cynthia Carvin and myself, as well as other members of our team, Tom Edwards, who's also available to answer questions via call-in, have been very diligent of trying to unturn every stone and really put together the best site for everybody involved, for us and for the city of Rome. So I'm just going to keep this pretty short, and we're mostly here to field any questions and for discussion items. Just a reminder a little about us. We do offer 401k benefits, insurance. We've never laid off an employee, and 5% of our profits are used for charitable organizations inside the communities we're involved in. We do a lot of work with United Way, Folds of Honor, etc. The current property we are talking about is 2 parcels, as mentioned. The parcel that would need to be annexed in is the undeveloped, or the larger parcel here. It's mostly undeveloped. There is a vacant house currently on the parcel. There's a lot of topography change, a large hill going up across the parcel. The neighboring parcel is the Taco Casa surplus parcel. It's currently zoned retail, and we're just asking for the PD mostly to button everything up and clean everything up, since we would have to rezone the annex property anyway. The site plan we currently have laid out, we've worked very, very diligently with both Cynthia, keeping her in the loop, as well as TxDOT, to really address their concerns and make sure that they were on board and support our layout and our access points. As you can see here, we do have the access on 287 frontage and as well as 114. Here's a picture of the current site as it is from the intersection of 114 and 287 frontage. Again, you can see the hill as it kind of goes up towards the Taco Casa sign and the vacant house. And then we have a quick representation of what our development would look like. This is, computer rendering of it, but it is pretty accurate with shared connection to Taco Casa shown.
Hey, Craig,
Yeah, go ahead.
are you taking questions?
Yeah, if you want to stop me for a question, go right ahead.
So that exit ramp off 287 there on the service road,
Yes, sir.
that's got to be the most popular place that the fire department has to go rescue people for having an accident. And that's like a big accident site. Adding your QT there is just going to increase the number of people wanting to exit there. I mean, in the evenings, that backs up onto 287. Can you tell me what you're going to do, or what TxDOT's going to do to alleviate that?
A little bit of background on it. There is a major road change that's still in development with TxDOT that would redo the frontage roads. In the meantime, we had multiple meetings with them to kind of discuss both how it is today and how it will be in the future, and any interim layouts that they could see. And what they've done is they've had us design it to the absolute worst case scenarios dimensions. So we have met the spacing dimensions for worst case scenario, as well as are intending to do a deceleration lane into that southernmost drive, allowing vehicles to kind of get over and help clean that area out the best we can. Again, it was a lot of back and forth with TxDOT to make sure we had every stone unturned and kind of had this thing taken care of, both as it is today and however it will be in the future.
I understand that someday TxDOT's going to address this issue, but I'm talking about in the near term. Can you tell me when TxDOT's going to fix that? Because again, TxDOT's not really known for their timely construction?
I can't tell you when TxDOT will fix it. I know the larger project is currently still seeking funding. What I can tell you is, given the current state of that drive, our spacing requirement would be about 200 feet less than we're currently providing, because they did hold us to the absolute worst case scenario as far as spacing is concerned, which gives us an extra 200 feet spacing between our first access point and that ramp, above current condition requirements.
So we're not only going to have the bad accident site, but it's also going to get worse because of the additional traffic. People trying to exit to use QT.
No, with that, the deceleration lane will really remove any of our traffic from that area, and will prevent any, will mitigate any impacts from our development. It is also important to remember we are not a traffic generator. We take in the traffic that's already there. So providing the exit or the deceleration lane by the ramp will actually help reduce any impacts.
I understand you're not increasing traffic down 287, but people are going to be pulling off the road to use your facility. So it's traffic through that exit ramp. That's what I'm talking about. If you're not increasing anything going to that exit ramp, then you're going to go out of business. You've got to be counting on the people taking that exit.
Well, let me just interject. As he said, they're going to be putting that deceleration lane in there, and so that's going to help alleviate some of that. The other thing I would tell you, one of the things, and I believe James is on the line, we did do a master thoroughfare plan, and we had conversations with TxDOT about signalization at that intersection. And of course, in the ultimate build out of 287, they're going to be providing for different turning movements through that intersection. However, one thing is to get a signalization, TxDOT has basically criteria that have to be met to be able to install signalization at an intersection. One of the criteria would be increased traffic. So if there is increased traffic, I think somewhat of a side benefit would be that that might happen sooner rather than later. Jeff, did I see you turn on your camera? Do you want to speak to that? Because you were involved in that process as well.
Cynthia, can I say something real quick before Jeff?
Sure, yeah.
Sam, I think the traffic backup is to the residents going to Boyd. So if they are not exiting to go to Quick Trip, I think if we let the residents that are going to Boyd know that they can cross over the bridge, turn right, go across the bridge, turn right at where the Wells Fargo is. That is a two-way service road, and then turn left where the Love's truck stop is. So they would pass by Ellis, turn Love's at the truck stop, and head on to Boyd. I think that would alleviate a lot of the traffic if they're not going to Quick Trip. But I think if they want to go to Quick Trip, because Quick Trip, they have a lot of business that is going to there. So, but we can let the residents know that is a way if they want to head on to Boyd, or that way that we can send them on past Ellis. But if you can, let's wait and let's let Jeff and Craig finish their conversation. So, but I think let's hold all questions to the end because I'm trying to write all this down. So thanks.
Jeff?
No, I don't have anything to add. Cynthia did a great job of explaining. Yes, it's in your master thoroughfare plan. There will be a traffic threshold that will be required to reach signalization. I think the only thing, Craig, you might explain, and I'm sure everybody understands what that deceleration lane includes. But so today, it's really a single lane coming off of 287. You might want to unpack that just a little bit more for some comfort level.
Okay, with what we're currently working on with TxDOT, it would be the details of the deceleration lane. What would basically entail is the same layout of the exit ramp with the yields, and then we would be adding a lane adjacent to our property going into our exit or into our entrance. So right-hand turns into our property on that rear access point would have their own dedicated lane to kind of help prevent that backup and help get out of the way of traffic and ease any of the current congestion there as well. And again, our access location points have been approved by TxDOT, and we're just working through some of the more detailed things once we get into full civil plans as far as infrastructure on them. So let me catch back up to where I was. Here's just an example of the building we have proposed to this unit. It is our normal, what we call a TC&K building with doors on both sides, and it does have the newer kitchen included. We are currently in the middle of an upgrade to all of our facilities that are a little older, and we're adding in a bigger expanded kitchen, which will give us tacos, and we'll still have the pizza and everything like that, but we'll add tacos, barbecue sandwiches to all of our older stores. This store will already have that improvement based into it. So again, just to reiterate, why we're here, we're asking for the larger parcel to be annexed into the city of Rome, and then go ahead and take both parcels in the neighboring Taco Casa parcel into the PD as Cynthia has provided and how it's outlined. And then again, I'm ready for any and all questions, and I appreciate you guys this time.
Councilmember Eason?
Thank you. You refer to it as a deceleration lane. Makes it sound like you're adding a lane onto 287 so you can decelerate to take the exit. The problem that people run into there is they take that exit too fast. So adding an extra lane on the service road doesn't stop them from taking that exit too fast. That's where they have the accidents. Okay, and you're talking about, you will have more traffic because more people will be taking that exit to go to Quick Trip. Okay, you're just talking about more accidents at that site. If you really want to do this right, you're going to need to get that intersection fixed first before you put in something that's going to draw in all those people and all the additional accidents. We're talking about a safety issue here. And I know that this council is big on safety issues.
Does anyone else have anything to add? Am I missing anybody?
If I could, Mayor, just respond to Councilmember Eason's comment.
Okay.
I would like to point out the ramp itself is far and away outside of our purview. We are doing everything we can to help both mitigate impacts we present and mitigate the current issues that are already there. The deceleration lane, you are correct, is not on Highway 287. It is on the frontage adjacent to our property. And that helps mitigate and clean up the congestion of the ramp by providing that the way it means for people to get out of the way to turn right into our property. The exit with the ramp, as Cynthia mentioned, is something that TxDOT is familiar with and is working on and do have plans to improve. However, that is outside of our purview, and we'll be happy to coordinate anything with TxDOT to make sure we are not hindering that improvement in any way.
Well, I just think it's unwise to take a bad situation and make it worse in the hopes that TxDOT's going to fix it in the future.
Okay, if no one else has anything, we will
Mayor,
go.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Majors has her hand up.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yes, Ashley.
Jeff, I don't know which company you're with, but sorry. Oh, that one changed. Craig, thank you for your presentation. I've actually, because it's not too far from my home, and I've gone out to the on-ramp and looked at it, and at night there are trucks that sit there. So with the truck, with this being a truck stop and stuff. I think it would be great. I think it will keep them going and everything. I know when I was a part of the, Cynthia, correct me if I'm wrong, I was only part of it, the Master Thoroughfare Committee. I know that we are looking to add in a four-way stop, which I think would be great later on down the road. But Sam, that is not one of the, I think down on 287 is the fire department's major accidents where they respond to. So I think this is a, I think if we fix the yield sign with TxDOT when I'm looking at it, but I know that you'll be working well with TxDOT to get this fixed. But I think if we just slow down the people at 5 o'clock, that maybe it would help. But I argue with you, Sam, but I think that Quick Trip will be working with them to help later on, but that's not, their job too. I think that's also our job to help with TxDOT, and we should have been working to fix that exit ramp. And with also getting the traffic, like I said, to the ones that are heading home to maybe head the other way. So Sam, since you're next.
Yes, Sam.
Thank you, Mayor Majors.
And Sam, did you have something to offer?
Yes, thank you. A couple of more issues. If Quick Trip is really going to try to do everything they can for the issues of the exit ramp, have they allocated funds to pay for our police and fire for the additional accidents that could be happening there? For the additional expense the fire department and the police department are going to incur?
Well,
Pretty simple question.
Yeah, Cynthia,
well,
go ahead and comment.
I know that Craig was wanting to respond. I mean, when we annex something into the city proper, I mean, there are city services that go along with it. We have a lot of businesses, and of course, we would like them to be good business partners, and I think Quick Trip has indicated that they are, but we don't, we're not. I mean, it's not a condition of approval into the city limits. So
I understand that, Cynthia. I'm asking them if they will do it. I mean, it's good. I'm thinking it's going to cost extra money. Are they willing to pay the extra money? They can always say no. Let them answer for themselves.
And it may be that we need to wait and see what's happening. Are we using scare tactics to keep them from coming? Or if they come,
I'm trying to address all the different aspects. If you want to wait and we can address this issue next month or the month after, we can do that.
Why?
You said wait.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
I
thought
said,
let's
see what happens. Are we hollering wolf when wolf is not appropriate? I do not know.
I'm merely talking about accidents happen. You add more cars to where bad accidents happen. It seems pretty obvious. Another issue, and Tommy had mentioned it in her presentation. I've been here 8 years, and for the 8 years I've been here, the people that I talk to say, small town, small town, small town. They really wish all the growth wasn't coming out here. They want to have a small town feel, right? Putting a Quick Trip there, I don't see how that preserves the small town feel. I've got a bunch of constituents that we don't talk about the QT coming in. We talk about as we grow, we want to make sure that we keep that small town feel. When you look at our master plan, right, for the city itself, part of it says, and we want to maintain the small town feel, right? Quick Trip's gigantic, right? We're talking about a 125-foot sign, and it's going to be, what was it, 27 by 32 feet, right? That's going to make us look like a truck stop. The whole town's going to be a truck stop. We got Love's on one side, we got QT on the other. Down at 407, you got the truck stop. Okay, we're just going to be a truck stop town. Now, small town feel? No, that's not a small town feel, right? We're looking at the money we're going to get. Yes, absolutely. QT is a wonderful company. They've got a great reputation for how they treat their employees. They've got a great reputation for keeping their facilities clean. They've got a great reputation. I go to Quick Trip quite often, okay, to fill up with gas. I've been inside eating the food. I'm not saying Quick Trip's a bad company. Please do not mistake that I think Quick Trip's a bad company. I'm saying adding all these gas stations to service the big rigs, that's bad for our city. Just the money that we're going to get, we're going to grow. People are going to, other companies are going to want to buy that land, and we can get other kinds of stores, restaurants, maybe Starbucks or something. Okay? We're going to get the revenue. It's going to happen. It'll get annexed in eventually. What do we want for the future of Rhome, the long-term future of Rhome? Do not sell the long-term future of Rhome for the near-term money that Quick Trip's going to bring us.
Well, to that point, I mean, and I understand, I mean, so I think your question is twofold. This particular one, what are they going to do for city services? I mean, I will say they are adding to the property tax base and the sales tax base. But other than that, I mean, we need to be careful that we're treating all the businesses the same, and we shouldn't be requiring more.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'd really like to hear from our other council members. I mean, we've heard from Ashley. I'd like to hear from Elaine and Mayor Pro Tem McCabe, maybe the mayor. I mean, I understand your staff, you've been working on this, and I know you are 100% in favor of bringing QT in. I mean, you're all about that. It's a feather in your cap for, you know, the work you've done. I'd like to hear what the rest of the council has to say. Please stop making the arguments for them.
Okay, does anyone want to comment other than Ashley? Okay, Elaine, yes, ma'am.
Well, I don't mind commenting at all. I think that several things. I think that this plan and this investigation of this company, what they plan to do, how they have investigated with the TxDOT situation. We all know that TxDOT is working on those changes to that. It's something that they've been working on, and hopefully they work on it faster instead of slower. But we have a responsibility to encourage economic development. And I take a little exception with Sam in that I find no stigma with trucks. If you look up how and when and for what purpose 287 was built, you will see that historically it was built for truck traffic to get from the Texas coast up to close to the Canada border. It is, of course, growth has changed the dynamics of that as far as its use. It's more commercial. It's still mostly commercial, but it's still a lot of residential and people moving into our area. From an economic development standpoint, I think that QT has merit here. Are we going to have to digest some changes? Yes, we are. Are we going to have to be patient as we work through these growing pains? Yes, we will. But we've known that all along as we've done our master plan research, as we've surveyed our citizens, as we have looked at and worked with the steering committees. We know that we have many things that we have to accomplish, and this is just one of them. Do we know it's going to be painful to grow? Yes. Are there going to be challenges? Yes. But we can take those challenges and make them into opportunities. And so I refuse to be negative about this. We've worked too hard to begin to see. You know, my big agenda, of course, is to get our facilities up to code and for them to be safe. And yes, I am big on safety. I expect QT to do their part to make things as safe as they can. But I also look at TxDOT to make that safe. That's their job. That is their job to make those changes out there and to work with us and make it happen. So I'm sorry. I believe that this is a economic development, that is growth. Will it be perfect? No. But is it an opportunity as well as a challenge? And I believe that it is. And so that's my comment.
Does anyone else want to offer a comment? Yes, Josh.
Thank you, Mayor. Sam, I completely understand where you're coming from with the traffic over there and the accidents. I avoid that section like the plague in the mornings and the evenings because I've seen how bad it gets backed up. But I've got to side with Ms. Priest on this one. We're looking at building up Rhome, and we have to work with our economic development. We have a lot of houses coming in, and we've got to meet the demands of those people. I think the QT is going to supply a lot of those demands. We also have a lot of things that we've got to work on that takes money, and right now we don't have that. With the increased revenue coming in from QT, I think we can use some of that budgeting forward to start working on some of these other projects. Not only that, but Rhome has always been the crossroads of the Metroplex. And back in the day, that was with the train stations, and over time it has evolved. Some of these major intersections are now some of these larger gas stations, whether it's QT or any of the other bigger ones. So I think with the Loves across the highway, with the QT on this side, maybe we can use this to our advantage and brand it as the new Metro or new crossroads to the Metroplex or something. But Ms. Priest really hit it. This is only going to be growth for the city. I think it's going to be good income. With every change comes headaches, and we're going to have to figure that out as we go. Can't plan for everything, but we just got to hope for the best sometimes. So I've got to be for this one.
Thank you, Josh. I think we've heard everybody's comments. Is there anybody else before we go for a vote? Okay, Shannon, you want to help me out here and we'll go for a vote for item F?
How about we have a motion first?
That's what I was just getting ready. Yeah, Mayor, we don't have a motion.
No, but we will work on that if Shannon is ready to help me on the thing. So Shannon, are you ready if we go forward with this? Okay, do we have a motion for the annexation? Elaine has a motion. Do I have a second? Josh has a second and Ashley has a second. So Shannon, we have a motion and a second for the annexation of
Okay,
the
I'm
land that's
not
described.
really sure. I mean, based on the comments, I can kind of anticipate, but I actually need a motion for or against proposed ordinance 2113.
Elaine, you want to go ahead and make your motion?
Right. I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the annexation.
Shannon, is that what you're wanting for wording?
Looking at Carvin, he's kind of
No, that's good. We actually do need to go through and do the annexation first. Once we've got the annexation accomplished, then we can do the zoning. And the zoning is encompassed by ordinance 2021-14. So
we're approving ordinance 2021-13. The annexation is what Councilmember Priest just approved. Okay, correct. So the vote is, okay, Mayor Pro Tem McCabe?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Priest?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Eason?
Nay.
Thank you. Councilmember Majors?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 3-1.
Okay, now we'll move on to item G2, track 2, legal description. And this is for the zoning. Legal acres 1.23, lot block 1, subdivision Taco Casa. And that
Need
is,
a motion
okay,
on
I'm
this one
sorry, that's
because,
part of what we just annexed, right?
yeah, all we really need on this one is just a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 2021-.
Okay. And I apologize, this is confusing. And Shannon did such a good job working on two sides of the paper. So give me a minute here and I can go with that one. We don't have that ordinance showing under G.
It's
Unless I'm
Page
missing it.
71.
Okay, I'm looking at the agenda. So
No.
Shannon,
This would be the necessary action under item G, the
right,
proposed number 2021-14.
okay. So do we have a motion to approve the 2014?
2021-14.
21-14.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have, that's for zoning, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That would create the planned district zoning for this property.
Okay, and that would cover item 1 and 2 under G.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All righty, we're calling, okay, Sam, yes?
Thank you very much. I'd like to, before anyone makes a motion on this, I'd like to ask Mr. Honeywell, since we've already annexed in the first, it's a foregone conclusion that this second one's going to be passed, but I'd like to ask, in preparing the property for your construction, would you please save the stone wall that goes all the way down to BC Rhome? Because that's stone that matches the wall around the old school, and it's the same type of stone, same style, and it could be used, assuming that we have a bond that gets passed in November. That would be a valuable resource. Mr. Honeywell, could we get a commitment from you to save that stone?
Are you asking to save the stone just in general or the wall as a whole?
The stone in general, because I understand you're going to want to drive back and forth across where that wall is.
Correct. That is something we can easily do. Obviously some might be damaged, but we'll save as much as we can.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, muted. Mayor, you are muted.
Sometimes that's for the best on the thing. We have a motion to approve items 1 and 2. I believe, Elaine, that was your motion.
No, it was Josh's, I think. Was it Josh?
No, but okay.
It was Josh.
Josh.
Like, just a second.
Okay. I'm sorry. And who did the second?
I'll second. Or no, Elaine second.
Hey, we got a motion in 2 seconds. So Shannon,
We're going to approve this one, so let's go.
Shannon, can you take it? Go with it, please.
I'm just laughing because I want to say something.
Councilman Majors, are you finished?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McCabe?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Priest?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Eason?
Nay.
Thank you. Councilmember Majors?
Aye. You know, sometimes it's hard to keep me quiet.
Motion carries 3-1.
Okay, so hey, Craig, we're looking forward to working with you. So we'll see how the world turns day by day on the thing. And we're going to move on now. If I can find my right page here to item H, update and discussion regarding Rolling V ranch development. Peter, are you with us?
I am here. Can you all hear me okay?
Good. Yes.
Great. Well, thank you all for Mayor and Council for allowing me to give an update on Rolling V. I know there's a good bit of attention on the project as construction has started, and there's quite a bit of activity over there, and so we're pleased to be underway. And so what I'll do here is I'm going to give a short update. I'm going to address a handful of questions that Cynthia passed on to me the other day that have come up from folks in the community, and then glad to answer any questions. Cynthia, I sent you an email just a few minutes before we started that had an exhibit on it. Is there any way that you can pull that up?
Yeah, I didn't see that. So,
Well, I gave you about 5 minutes before the meeting, so that was my fault.
okay, if you want to start talking, I will work on pulling it up.
Sure, I'm sorry about that. So, there are a handful of things I want to address. One of them is, we've started grading on both sides of FM 3433, and that construction is all consistent with the plats that you all or the prior council had seen and approved. And so there are about 336 home sites being developed on the east side of the road in what we are calling Reunion. And you all may have seen articles in the paper about that as we release the name of the project and are starting to do some branding. And you'll see billboards on 287 and 114 in the coming months that draw some attention to the project. And so the bulk of what you all think of as Rolling V Ranch will be Reunion, and that's everything east of FM 3433. And so if you see the exhibit that Cynthia just pulled up, can y'all see that?
Yes.
So phase one is the area that's in red, and that's about 336 lots. It's adjacent to what we call Lake Eloise, which was the original name of the lake that Johnny Benson named after his wife. That's about an 18-acre constant level lake, and adjacent to that, we'll have extensive walking trails. There will be an amphitheater that can be used for events that we're really excited about. We're building an amenity center, sort of a lake house style amenity center, and a fishing pier out there as well. And so I have 4 young kids who love to play outside. And when I'm out there, thinking about what it would be like to live in this community, a lot of what I'm thinking about is how my 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, would experience it, and much of that is just sort of running wild around that lake. And so that's what we hope is available to all the families that come in there. One specific issue that Cynthia had asked me to address is the amenity center and the pool that we build will be exclusive to residents in the community, but a lot of the amenities, so the outdoor amenities, access to the lake and the trails and all of that, are going to be open to the citizens of Rome. And so we want to be a good neighbor. We think that we're going to be building some things that are really attractive to folks that live in and outside of Reunion, and also think that there'll be an opportunity to host events and do some different things there that should be great for the community overall. And then specifically, I think one of the questions was who the builders are. The home builders in Reunion, starting off, will be Perry Homes, American Legend Homes, and then Union Main Homes. They're all fully committed to the project. They'll build in the first phase that you're looking at, and the second phase that starts to stretch down to the south. They're great, high quality builders. They'll build a diverse product that is guided and governed largely by deed restrictions that our homeowners association puts in place and enforces, and that's an effort to just really ensure high quality. And so that will be the case on that side of the road. The construction that you see on the west side, there are two different pieces of it. One of it is the blue outlined area is phase one of what will soon be announced as Blue Stem, is what we're going to call the west side of the road. We're branding it as a separate project. It'll have a separate homeowners association, a separate amenity center and pool complex, and should be just a fantastic project. The amenity center there will be adjacent to the constant level lake that you can see just below the blue area. There are 236 lots under construction on that side right now. The home builder on that side will be D.R. Horton. And they've got great product designed for this, and like the builders on the east side of the road, a tremendous amount of interest. We started grading several months ago, first on Reunion. There's a lot more work on that side. Blue Stem was quick to follow. They should both deliver finished lots around this time next year, around 12 months from right now. And then you'll start to see homes come up in the fall of 2022. And I would think the first residents ought to be in by the end of the year or so. And then it will sort of fill in from there. And a lot of activity. We're very excited about it. There's a tremendous amount of interest in it, and we want to be available to you all. And so I want to mention, I guess I'll mention one more construction issue that came up. You see a lot of black silt fence that is creating an alignment from the Blue Stem side down, towards 3433, and then we'll ultimately cross 3433. That is a sanitary sewer easement that is going to be, we're going to build a sewer line that will be buried underground, and then that area will be fully restored. So when we finish construction and the vegetation has the opportunity to become reestablished, it should look the same as it was before we started. And I know there are a lot of questions and concerns around that because it gets close to the existing community there, but just want you all to know that's an underground facility. It will be going in over the next couple of months. It will be, restored to existing condition in that easement area, and then vegetation will be reestablished there. So you won't see anything, above the surface once it's in. Let me think what else. There are, and sorry, I'm going to pull up some of these questions so that I'll address all of them. And then Cynthia or Mayor or Council, anyone, you certainly feel free to jump in and ask anything that's on your mind. Okay. So I've addressed the issues of the sewer line. I've addressed the number of homes that are being built. I've addressed the time frame. There's a question about the pond being enlarged on the west side of 3433 that's down below the existing lake there. That is going to be a detention pond to slow down any runoff. And it'll have native grasses and that sort of thing in it, and that's the purpose of it. What type of fencing? There are a number of questions about fencing. So another thing that we do through the homeowners association and the design guidelines that are enforced there is that the builders, when they build a home, and this will be the same on both sides of the road, will be required to build a 6-foot tall board on board cedar fence with a decorative cap on the top. And I can send you all a picture at some point if that's helpful of exactly what that looks like, but want you to know the fencing throughout the community will be, it will all be consistent. It will all go in as homes are built. It's the builder's responsibility to do it. The stain is all the same, and there won't be 8-foot fences in one area and 5-string barbed wire in another and all that. You'll see it come in at a high level of quality and consistency that I think everybody will be pleased with. And that will be adjacent to the existing neighborhoods on both sides of the road, and then anywhere else throughout. Let's see. Are there multifamily units in the first phases? And the answer is no. Everything in there is for sale. Will the sewer plant have remedy for smells? And all I'll say there is that the sewer plant is being designed and constructed according to TCEQ guidelines and the guidelines that are in the development agreement. And there's extensive treatment required, and we don't anticipate that being an issue, but we're just following the governing documents that are in place. And then the last question was about the black plastic barrier markers for the sewer lines, and I think I've addressed that. That's silt fence, and that will be taken out as soon as that line has been constructed and covered up and vegetation restored. So with that, Cynthia, unless I missed a question, I'm glad to open it up to anything else. And I was going to say this. We want to be available to folks, and we've done a couple of different things, and I don't know how much this is known, but I've worked certainly extensively with Cynthia, on issues that have come up as we've gone to construction. I've worked with Elaine Priest on the landscaping and maintenance on the entrance to the Chisholm neighborhood, which we have paid for and provided since we bought the property. And while I know that is not always seamless, I hope Elaine can vouch for the fact that we've been available and wanted to help and willing to help. And that's not necessarily something that we've been required to do, but want to do that as a good neighbor. We've established a relationship with Connie Green, who lives in the neighborhood as well, and Connie's acted as a conduit of sorts to answer questions about construction on the west side of the road. So I would like to come in and do this type of thing periodically, even when there's not an agenda item, that requires council action, just to be face to face, so to speak, and hopefully actually face to face sometime when we're allowed to do that. But want you all to know that we've got connections that we've created in the community. We're available to answer questions and respond to concerns and that sort of thing, and excited to be underway. So with that, I'm hand it over to Cynthia, I guess.
Well, before Cynthia has her 10 questions, Peter, one thing that, and Cynthia has addressed this with you, I'm sure, is the congestion in the 3433 being a single road with, in a lot of places, no shoulders. Are y'all working with the county to maybe improve that?
Well, so we're working with TxDOT, and so the plan will be to add turn lanes into the community on both sides, which is our obligation and will be part of our initial phases, so that you don't have folks that are flying down to the south and slamming on their brakes to turn into either side of the community. There will be turn lanes added.
Okay.
Additionally, one of the things that Cynthia and I have talked a lot about is the speed limit on 3433. And not to put words in anybody's mouth, but I understand we're all aligned in a desire to slow things down there. So that request will ultimately have to come from the city to TxDOT and will require support from us and some some level of engineering, traffic counts, et cetera. And I've committed to Cynthia that we're perfectly happy to work with her and provide any support we can to ensure that that happens. I don't really get a vote on that, but I understand the city's in favor of it, and so we're locking arms on that to try to pursue a lower speed limit. And I think that's probably part of your question, Joanne.
That would help, along the way. And as y'all continue to build, it's just going to get more congested, and I think that's the concern. And there's also a concern, and Cynthia, I may be asking what you've asked, is what to do with parents when they pick up kids and know where to park and know where to go. I know that's a big concern. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's not really a good pickup place for as many parents as show up to pick up kids in the afternoon. And so they go down and they go toward Elaine's part of the world and circle back and come back up and get in line and then hope for the best. So it's not really your problem, but if you've got any ideas, we'd sure like to hear them.
Well, I don't have specific ideas to address that, but I also want you to know that we're in constant communication with Northwest ISD about capacity concerns with the existing schools, planning for future school sites, and certainly, sort of arm in arm with the district, making sure that we, are adding new facilities within Rolling V, prospectively and not reacting, too late. And hopefully that over time will help with some of those traffic issues as well.
And we do appreciate any help you can come up with. Cynthia, I didn't mean to jump in front of you.
No, Mayor, by all means. So I'll just piggyback on everything that's already been said. So I know the council, they have expressed their concern with the speeds along 34, 33. I've talked with Elaine extensively on that as well. We have talked with TxDOT. I have talked with TxDOT. And we actually talked about this also, just as a reminder, during the master thoroughfare plan. So we've been letting them know all along that this development is coming along. I think one thing to understand, 2 points I'd like to make is a little bit tricky, because when you do a speed study, which is what we will need to do, it's really trying to find out when and where to do that. Because the way speed studies are done, and I'm not an engineer, so I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, and Jeff can talk about that, but essentially the speed studies are based on the actual speed that travelers are going, and that is how the speed limit is determined when you do a speed study. So ostensibly we could have a situation where we're required to raise the speed limit. So we have been strategizing. I've been talking with Kimberly Horn on that, with Kyle, with Peter. I actually have had conversations with Tim McClure on that as well. I think when we can present a united front to TxDOT with what our requests are, noting that the construction that's coming online and the community that's coming online, in addition to the school traffic that is already there, and that we're in partnership with the developer, with the school district, and the city. I think I'm hopeful that we can get a good resolution there. It's certainly not going to come as fast, I think, as some people would like, but we are working towards that end. And I have had conversations with the Decatur area office on that, and the district engineers, area engineers there. So. Mayor, you're muted.
We have 3 people with questions, and I'll start to the right and go to the left. Ashley.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Peter. I've been approached by citizens with their concerns with the large construction trucks going from one side of 3433 to the other side. Especially next week, our children go back to school. Do you have a suggestion on that?
I think what I need to do is just ensure that there's only one contractor that's working on both sides of the road, and that relates to that sewer line that we were talking about earlier. Otherwise, there are unique contractors doing work on both sides of the road, so nobody should be crossing besides that one. I'll do two things. I will be sure that I'm talking to them about traffic control and trying to avoid those high traffic hours for crossing when you've got students being dropped off and picked up as best we can. And then I just say to you guys, keep in mind that as that line goes in, which shouldn't take too terribly long, that construction traffic going back and forth should stop. And so I'll reach out to that contractor and speak with them about the concerns around the school issues. And then we'll just get it done as quick as we can.
That's understandable. My son goes to one of the schools, so I know how busy the pickup line is. So
Yeah.
thank
Well,
you so much.
if you see a bulldozer in the pickup line, call me.
Okay, I'll go get the little orange flag. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Interject just right here is that we have had some the developers agreement allows for police and fire service. We have had some preliminary conversations. We are looking at scheduling a meeting soon to discuss some of those items. And so we're going to be bringing in, I've talked with the police and fire, and they've been getting prepared for that meeting. So that is ongoing. And in this stage, it is important. So we are working on, I know the fire chief is cognizant of that, and as is the police chief. So we will be addressing some of those issues in the coming weeks.
Yes, Sam.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Cynthia, it's my understanding those meetings have not yet happened, but they are scheduled. They're going to happen.
They've not yet happened. We're trying, there's a lot of different pieces to this. And so we've been working on a couple of other pieces to some subsidiary agreements from the development agreement, namely the water agreement. But this is, Peter and I have had conversations, and I've already had conversations with staff on getting them prepared for evaluating that area and the safety concerns that are there. So, yeah, we have been.
I mean, it's our developers agreement, I believe, calls that we're going to have those meetings at a minimum of once a year annually, and I don't believe we have. So we're kind of behind the, we're in violation of our agreement, and we need to get these things moving, right?
Those annual meetings have not yet started because we're in the beginning phases. So
and not to interrupt, but I think we were pretty close to having some of those meetings, and you all got a new police chief, and so some of this was letting them get their feet on the ground. But we're available, ready. I think Cynthia and I are thinking about it the same way, so it's just a matter of getting that in place.
I just know that, I mean, you're going to have more than a few homes, and the support that you're going to need from the fire departments, both in Newark and Rome, is going to be huge. Okay.
And we're going to pay for it.
Well, I was going to start going with what the need was before I started asking you for money. Okay.
Well, we're committed. No, I appreciate that, but we're committed in the development agreement to work that out with the city, and we cover our costs. So we fully anticipate that.
Peter, you're sounding more than reasonable. Thank you. I'm an engineer, and I'm driven by deadlines. Okay. And, if there's not a deadline, then things tend to not happen. And so I'm kind of looking for a deadline as to when we can get these meetings happening. You know, it's going to happen by, you know, let's say September 15th, we're going to have this meeting happen. You know, something like that.
I will say I've had internal meetings and just informal conversations with Peter. So I envision that meeting, those meetings, the initial meetings happening within the next 3 to 5 weeks.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Thank you, Peter. You can't
You
be
bet.
that reasonable all the time. You gotta watch that.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
Elaine, please.
Yes, I'd like to comment on Peter's information. He has worked with our subdivision as far as the entranceway. When the property changed hands, there was confusion, and we needed to talk about how that was going to be taken care of with the property changing hands like that. And Peter was very quick to come out, work with us, part of the community volunteers to help with that, and the rest of it, Peter's group has been very responsible to keeping that in good stead. Also, the other times when we've had questions or whatever, he's been quick to respond. And not only did he respond, he came out on site and visited with us when he could have just used a telephone. So his track record, as far as working with me, has been exceptional. I do have comments a little bit about the school traffic situation. From a safety standpoint, those folks that are picking up their children, especially in the afternoon, in order to get off of 3433, are coming into our subdivision. And of course, that's a kind of a small boulevard, and it's wide enough that they can line up and get ready to pick up the kids from especially the elementary school, but it also impacts the junior high as well. There is room for the residents to get in and out, and that I haven't seen that is really being a problem. The problem that we have has nothing to do with Peter. It has to do with the parents and the other folks that are responsible for picking up the kids. They throw their trash out. They do 3-point turns right in the middle of the road. They drive in our yards. They drive up on school property and rut it up. And they drive up on the church property and rut it up because they don't want to go down and go to a cul-de-sac or something like that and stay on the concrete. And so that would be my request as we talk to citizens who are there to pick up their children, that they need to be safety minded, not just all the rest of us, but them too, to make a 3-point turn out there in the middle of the road with that many cars trying to get around to pick up their children. It's not a safe thing to do. And then to drive up on other people's property and rut it up is just rude. You know, it's just rude. There's a lot of trash that gets tossed out. Most of it's fast food, gum wrappers, or, you know, just whatever. A lot of water bottles, and occasionally there's a beer bottle to go along with that, you know. And so I'll just tell you right now, Mr. Priest goes up there and picks it up. Sounds just like him, doesn't it? But that's what he does. And so if as we can visit with our neighbors, as we visit with the parents, if we can just encourage them to be a little more courteous, them being in the neighborhood is not a problem. We want them to be safe. We want the kids to be safe, but just a little courtesy would go a long ways for us. So I'd appreciate that. And that's it. Thanks.
Anybody else have anything for Peter? Peter, I'm sure we'll think of a lot of things once you're gone, but we really appreciate your presence here tonight, and like Elaine is saying, in and out with the construction going on. Everybody
Yeah.
says that. Ask Peter, you know. So
Yeah, no, look, I'm happy to be here, and I think it's an important just habit for us to form is to have some regular touch points, even when there'll be plenty of more things that you all are having to act on in a formal capacity related to the development and following the development agreement. But I'm happy, Cynthia knows how to find me, and happy to do this sort of on a periodic or as needed basis, just to be sure that the lines of communication are open, and we want to be responsive. We understand, that we are bringing a lot of change to the community, and so if nothing else, want to have good, clear lines of communication, as we move forward.
And I think Cynthia is our go-to person. She will pass along anything, and anybody can pass along anything to Cynthia. And you feel comfortable with Cynthia, Peter, anytime you need something. She's our go-to person on this side.
No, we've got a great relationship, and that works for me.
Yeah, okay. Well, shall we move on to our next item?
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, we have had a presentation on rolling B. We're now to item I, discussion and any necessary action regarding an ordinance calling a bond election to be held November the 2nd, 2021, and resolving other matters incident and related thereto. Shannon, you're the go-to person on this one.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start, and then we'll see if Cynthia and Bob's also here, and I think Jim Martin was going to be here too if you had any questions. As we all know, council has been discussing the health and welfare of our residents and our city employees since the beginning of this new term with the council. So in May, council approved potential bonds to improve the city facilities, street improvements, and a Bible neighborhood park. And then council further clarified at their July meeting that we removed the historical bank building from the renovation and the new playground equipment and try to get some grants for those. So we have in front of you a proposed ordinance to call bond election in November for 3 different propositions. And it was the city services campus in the amount not to exceed $5,760,000, street improvements in the amount not to exceed $4 million, and construction of a Bible neighborhood park in the amount not to exceed $150,000. I do want to point out that if should all 3 of these propositions pass in November, issuing the debt will be associated with the projects dependent on the current financial position. And council did make a point to say that the first priority would be the city services campus for the health and safety welfare of our residents and our employees. So that's what I have in front of you is the ordinance. Cynthia, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it. You did send out a financial impact this afternoon. So if you have any questions on that, we do have John Martin with us, and we also have Bob Dransfield with us. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here tonight. We appreciate that. And they are available for questions. I think we've known that it was coming down to this, and this is when we had to have everything ready to call the bond. We have, Shannon's done some work on honing the election information, trying to get an election spot within the city of Rome. However, we are subject to the county because this is happening in the November election. So got John tonight.
Okay, Cynthia, half of what you just said was cut out with all the noise, so we didn't hear exactly what you're ending.
Okay, well, I'm just going to make it short and sweet. I think we've covered it. So if you have any questions for John and Bob, they are here. Otherwise, tonight is the formality. We've had several conversations. Tonight's just the formality of calling that vote.
Councilmember Eason.
Thank you, Shannon. I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and pass that ordinance.
Do you want to specify the number of the ordinance, Sam? It's 2020-15.
It's 2021-15.
Wow, you jumped on that before I had a chance to say anything.
Okay, what did you?
Councilmember, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem McCabe is seconding.
Yeah. And did Ashley have a question?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So Shannon, we have a motion and a second to accept this ordinance 2020-2021-15. You want to call?
Mayor Pro Tem McCabe. Thank you. Councilmember Priest.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Eason.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Majors. Councilmember Majors.
You're muted, Ashley.
Councilmember Majors, would you like to vote on this?
She's muted. You're muted. There we go.
Sorry, I was looking over it again, looking at my notes. So, because I stepped away for a minute. 1 second. Sorry, there's a lot of background noise. Cynthia, do you mind muting everything?
That really helped.
Sorry, which item are we voting on? I'm sorry.
Calling the election, item L, ordinance 21-15. Ordinance starts on page 139.
You said item L?
Yes. I'm sorry, I.
Sorry. I was like, okay, discussion.
Sorry. Page 139.
Okay. Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay. Mr. Martin, Mr. Dransfield, do y'all have anything you'd like to interject before we move to the next item?
Not I, Mayor. Thank you very much for letting us participate in your meeting tonight. And as the things unfold, obviously, if you all have any questions, run them through Cynthia or feel free to contact us directly. But I don't think you need us for the rest of the meeting, so we'll kind of bug off if you don't need us.
Is this not part of your entertainment tonight? I mean, hey, you know, so I think John is anxious to go too. So, but we do appreciate you guys coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye.
Okay, item J is not going to be discussed tonight. We were waiting on an ordinance that's not been finalized. It pertained to the maintenance of right-of-ways, easement, and alleys. So you'll probably see that on next agenda. And so then we're going to move on to item K.
Wait. Item J, do we not discuss, even though the ordinance isn't there, we can discuss this, right?
Well, I think Cynthia indicated she was going to pull it off tonight. So.
I mean, it's on the agenda. We had it on there because we've been talking about this for a while. We've been working on the ordinance, and Carvin is still working on that. We didn't have it ready to bring to you.
Yeah,
I understand the ordinance isn't finalized, but I'm sitting here thinking about item J, maintenance of right-of-ways, easements, and alleyways. And I'm thinking, you know, if the city's going to be responsible for right-of-ways, then this is awesome because there's an easement in my front yard that's 35 feet from the street, and I'd appreciate if the city would mow my front yard every week.
No. Well, that's not what we're going to bring forward. We're bringing forward really a type of ordinance that, and we've been talking about that is pretty much best practice across the state of Texas and the country, really, for how we maintain those. So staff's recommendation is for right-of-ways and easements to be maintained by the property owners.
Yes.
And alleys.
Okay, there we go. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to try to commit public works to, taking care of the easements, because I got a 20-foot easement around my entire property, and I think it'd be okay if they wanted to mow that for me, but I think that's too much of a burden to put on the city.
Agreed.
Well, what's your thoughts on alleys, Sam?
If the city owns it, then the city should be responsible for taking care of it.
So you need to come to the next meeting too, because that may be a point of discussion.
I come to all the meetings.
Well, I know, but make sure and tag this one if you've got that feeling, because there's different schools of thought.
She's asking you to speak at the next meeting, Sam.
Oh my gosh, someone actually was asking me to speak? You betcha.
Ashley was Sam. I just want you to be there. Okay. Anything else on this item relative to the ordinance and everything? Are we okay to move it to next meeting?
I just offer my apologies, Mayor. We've been working on it, but we've had a lot of things going on, and this was just one of them that got kind of pushed to the back. And I'm kind of double checking against our existing ordinances to see if it's just an amendment or if we actually have to do a whole new standalone ordinance. So it overtook me and I just didn't get it finished.
Hey, we'll forgive you this one time, We'll move then on to item K, and that's discussion and necessary action regarding the FY 2021-2022 budget amendments. And that is Cynthia.
Yes, the Mayor, that is actually a typo. This is for 2020 and 2021 budget for the current fiscal year. So that is a typo.
We'll mark my little piece of paper.
Yeah, it is correct in the ordinance that you have in your backup agenda, council members. So this is what we do. Our goal is to do quarterly. Sometimes we don't need to do them quarterly. So this is, we did them back in April, May, I believe. And so this is, you have before you what they are. I will say normally we move the budget amendments are within the departments from line to line, depending upon different things that happen. And of course, we've had a lot of different things that have happened over the last year with COVID and the increase in expenses and with the cost of everything going up. But we also have the increase of the bottom line of the agenda of the budget included in this, and that is due to the budget being under budgeted due to the frozen revenue that we had to add back into the budget. So with this motion, you will be approving the budget amendment to increase the bottom line of the budget in general, as well as these budget amendments within each department.
Sam.
Don't say a word. Don't say a word.
I think I was first.
Oh, okay. Go for it, Ashley.
I think that I would like to hold this off because I've been sending you emails for typos and questions that have not been answered on previous emails. And I understand, there's amendments, but I don't know. Could be voted against, but there's a lot that we need to address. But council members, I don't know what you think, but I sent an email today again to Cynthia.
Councilmember Majors, though, that email you sent today at about 3 or 4 o'clock was on next year's budget. So that doesn't impact these amendments. This budget amendment is for this current fiscal year. So you have asked questions on the budget, which I've answered. You have come back today, this afternoon, with additional questions on next year's budget. And it's quite a lengthy email, and I will be responding to that email. However, that is not what this agenda item is.
Do you have Sam?
She shut her up.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So if anybody would, if you'd like to mute that person, Cynthia.
Thank you, Joanne. Cynthia, I'm looking at this, and you were talking about agenda item K, Exhibit A, and I see the approved proposed net reduction and increase. And you said that there was an increase in the total bottom line, and I don't see a total. I don't see a total on the bottom. Is there a page missing?
No.
That would show the total increase, total decrease? Or do I need to put my calculator out and add up the
bottom line is going to be $74,768. If you look at line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the bottom, where it says property tax M&O, that is the bottom line increase with the net change of $74,768.
So, Councilmember Eason, so what we are saying is our revenue is between the M&O and the INS line item. So we are increasing the M&O bottom line from 380. So we were budgeting that we were going to collect 380 in M&O property taxes. However, we are going to be collecting approximately $74,000 more. So net for the property tax bottom line is the actual this year is 792 instead of the 725 that was budgeted. And what you see here noted is just on the property tax M&O line item. So the bottom line is we're going from 725 for property taxes in the revenue to 792.
Thank you. I went ahead and added them all up in my head, and I see what Shannon was pointing out. Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we accept this budget amendment.
And Josh is seconding the motion. Shannon, are you available for roll call?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem McCabe.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Priest.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Eason.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Majors.
Aye. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you. Motion carries.
And we're going to move now under the regular agenda, but to old business. We're kind of doing this, flip this go around. Under regular agenda, old business, item L, discussion and any necessary action regarding the American Rescue Plan Act and authorize the city administrator to execute contract with OpenGov. Estimated 5 minutes. Now that is what we discussed last week with the OpenGov rep. So Cynthia, this shows you as the action person.
Yes, and council members, as you know, we discussed this last week, and this is the American Rescue Plan Act and the dollars that are coming down from the federal government to our community in 2 installments. The first installment will be $228. The second installment in approximately a year from when we get the first one, which is estimated to be sometime in September, perhaps October. it would be a year following that for the second round. As we discussed, this is a little bit more broad in what you can spend this money on this go around as compared to the COVID funds that came down the pike earlier a year ago. And there was a question on whether or not we needed to go out for an RFP. I was fairly confident we did not need to after discussion with our attorney. We do not need to, and he can address any questions on that. I wasn't going to have, we do have OpenGov here, if there are any questions regarding that. I know I fielded a couple from Council Member Eason on OpenGov and going to the cloud and what that entails, and that interface with the cloud, and it's the Amazon Web Service that hosts that. I will point out the only change that you have in how we're allocating the 228 funds is on the police side. So 140 is for the OpenGov cloud system upgrade. The 10,000 is for the AV in the community center. That leaves 39,000 for police, 39,000 for fire. Police did adjust their allocation a little bit differently than the item you had last week. So for the data analysis and tech infrastructure, they're requesting 16,505, and premium pay for essential workers overtime, they're requesting 22,495. Are there any questions?
Does anybody want to make a motion to let Cynthia enter into a contract, or what would y'all want to do? Don't everybody speak at once. Got two at one time. Okay, Josh?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize our city administrator to enter in a contract, to execute a contract with OpenGov.
Are you also including the acceptance and the allocation of the ARPA funds first tranche as noted in the agenda commentary?
Yes, ma'am. You didn't hear that?
I did.
Now we have. Okay, Elaine, were you wanting to say something, or you want to second it? Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I hate to complicate things, but do we want to make that subject to my review? I don't think Cynthia and I have had a chance to talk about the software services agreement yet.
Yeah, it can be subject to your review, Carvin. I have sent that to you, but we do have to go through that, and just counsel for your more information. We definitely will be waiting for that money to come down the pipe before we execute that contract. And of course, it would be subject to legal review. Carvin, I did send that to you. I know you haven't.
I've got the statement of works and we've got the order form. You'll probably have to point me at the agreement. I'm not sure I've actually got the agreement underhand, but it's not ready yet, so we need to review that later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sam?
Thank you. No offense, Mayor Pro Tem McKay, but I think based upon that, sounds like there's a whole lot more work that needs to be done. But I think that we should maybe wait on this. Find out, maybe we get it where we need it to be first. Have that review done first.
Well, we have a motion and second on the table to authorize the city administrator to enter into the contract with OpenGov pending subject to legal review, and then also approving the expenditures in the expense as they are listed in the agenda commentary. So I think we have to make a vote on that before we can entertain Councilmember Eason's.
Well,
I think Mr. Eason was just suggesting to maybe rethink the vote, but I have all faith in our city administrator to work it out with our city attorney to make sure everything is good. I'm sure if there are any issues whatsoever, they would definitely bring those back to us before executing anything. So as long as both of them sign off on it, then I'm still comfortable with the motion.
Councilmember Priest, are you still comfortable seconding?
Yes, I am, because we included the stipulation upon legal review. That's part of the motion. And so I'm comfortable with the second.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor, may I start the vote?
Yeah, let me make sure Ashley's got her hand up. Are you just wanting to second or to?
No, I meant to ask Andrew, do y'all have City of Decatur? Is that one of your, okay. I've been
Yes,
on
ma'am.
their website frequently this past week. So it's been popping up in the bottom right-hand corner. So a couple of questions. So you can ask any question and it will be sent to you.
In regards to citizen questions, or what, I guess, what's the context of that?
Like I've been looking at their budget and a couple of other questions, and it comes up in the bottom right-hand corner. I forget what it says, but it always pops up in the
Okay.
bottom, and it just says any questions.
The bottom right-hand corner pop-up, that might be a different software that the City of Decatur is using. At the same time, we are able to intake citizen feedback and comment suggestion. It can be very broad, as in let us know your feedback, and it can also be more targeted, like actually asking citizens, how do you feel we should allocate the American Rescue Plan funding? And they can actually put in amounts. So you are able to do that, but that pop-up on Decatur's website, that may be a different software.
Okay, I just thought it was opened up.
Sure.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you. And Mayor, I was going to ask what your opinion was. I mean, you should have, but I guess when it comes back to legal, and Cynthia, I would like to hear what you think about this as well. You're on mute.
My dog would quit barking and quit muting it, you know. But what I think about it, I defer to Cynthia to know what she needs. It seems god awful expensive, you know, but we're also putting in the audio visual that goes in to the community center. So if, you know, Cynthia and Carvin work it out and y'all guys have determined it's for real need, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Shannon, are we going to vote?
Mayor Pro Tem McCabe?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Priest?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Eason?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Majors?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, and we're moving to the last item under old business, under M, discussion regarding proposed budget for fiscal year 2021 and 2022, and the proposed tax rate for 2022. Cynthia, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So I didn't prepare a presentation. I've shared everything. I have been fielding questions. As I discussed earlier, Councilmember Ashley Majors, I did get your questions this afternoon, and I am going to respond to those. I had responded to some of them, so I definitely will respond to these. I fielded some others, and I'm copying everybody on those so everybody can see that. This is just, if there's other questions that you have, please let me know and I will respond. Next week will be the public hearing on the budget, and then subsequent to that, on September 9th is when you all would be taking action on adopting the tax rate and adopting the budget as presented at that time if there's not any changes.
And Cynthia, the public hearing date is, do you have that in front of you?
August 26th.
August 26th, is it 6:30?
Yes.
Okay, August 26th, 6:30. Does anybody have any questions on, okay, Elaine, yes, ma'am.
Just for clarification, I have a couple of things, but the first one is, as we look at the sheet here and it refers to homestead and it looks at those folks that are eligible for the rate freeze. I just want to be sure that's my understanding is that it is up to the property owner to make sure that the paperwork with the county is done in advance before this is applicable to them. So I don't want folks thinking that, oh, the city knows that I'm older than 65 or knows that I have a disability. It is up to the property owner to take that initiative and get the proper paperwork filled out. And that's at the county level. Is that correct?
Yes, you are correct, Councilmember.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure that was clear, especially to anybody that might be listening that hasn't done that yet. Don't miss your opportunity.
What would the veterans need to do, Cynthia, if they haven't already claimed their exemption?
They need to fill out the correct paperwork. Just like if you're a homestead exemption, you've got to go to the county and get that paperwork. The same thing with the over 65, which the council has voted on, and the veterans. And I know Josh has talked about that in the past, being a veteran himself, so he can probably talk about that process better than I can. But the whole property owner, to council members Priest's point, the property owner has to take the initiative to file the paperwork.
And Josh, you want to add to that?
If there's any veterans that are needing assistance with gaining documentation proving they're a disabled veteran, they can contact the VSO, the Veteran Service Office in Decatur, that's Wise County. They can help with that. I know they work with me on some other stuff. So basically it's the same thing as anybody else. You got to fill out your own paperwork. You got to send it in. We're not going to know that you're a veteran and just freeze your taxes. So that's really it. You just got to fill it out and turn it in like everybody else.
And Cynthia, you want to share what the proposed tax rate may be as opposed to this year? Are you holding that for the final?
No, I mean, the proposed tax rate is and this is for the voter approval rate, is 2.57667. Now remember, you've also got your debt rate, and that is 1.193190 per 100 valuation. Both of these are.
So the rate as opposed to the current year is going to be more or less?
Well, technically, and I know the tax calculations are, well, they're complicated, let me just say that, but technically it is an increase of 1.67%. We're raising more revenue, and part of that is, from the growth that we've experienced. However, the tax rate is going down, and it's 0.45, some other numbers, but currently it is 0.477694, and it is going down to 0.45, and I'd have to add this up because I didn't put it in here.
Well, and it's not finalized, of course, until we approve the budget and we approve the tax rate. But right. I think that we're seeing a little bit of a slide down, which is good.
Right. And you guys, yes, exactly.
Anybody else? Elaine? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about the budget. And I think it's important that we think about a few things as city council folks, our obligation and understanding our budget. And so I just like to, I'm just going to read it because I wanted to be sure I didn't leave anything out. I just like to share a few things about the council's discussion and action related to budgeting during my tenure for the last 3 years. And you'll understand why I say this. Our budget is a reflection of city needs. It is an annual financial plan with some flexibility for unseen circumstances. Yet, it is also an evolving map of how to respond to meeting those needs. Budgeting is truly a multi-year process. It is not a singular thing. For the last few years, the City Council has focused on the city's priorities based on needs and research. It was through research of the city's master plan that citizens participated in steering committees and completed numerous surveys, which ultimately told the City Council what is needed and expected in the operation of this municipality. Obviously, it couldn't all be done in 1 year. Thus, the City Council expects budget planning to utilize a multi-year comprehensive approach so that the mayor, department heads, and city administrator can have uniformity in budget design. To date, we have all embraced this budget design strategy, and it has been successful. In other words, common goals are paramount. Political goals have no merit. There were 3 things that came up through all that research that are top priorities according to our citizens and our research, the work that University of Texas at Arlington did as they did a private assessment of our community. And those 3 top priorities are, number 1, bring the infrastructure up to legal and safety standards. Lots of work has taken place to assess and to initiate this planning process. Today, water and wastewater have either met safety standards or they are now funded to meet that goal, to meet those goals. If the November bonds for facilities and roads pass, for the first time in Rhome's history, all of its infrastructural categories will have the funding to make them legal and safe. In other words, Rhome will have moved from having none of its infrastructure up to legal and safety standards to all being up to standard. What I've just said is reflected in a multi-year approach to budgeting. In other words, we couldn't do it in 1 year. It's a process that started 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and we're still doing that, working on it. The second priority that was set out for the City Council to be aware of as we look at our budgeting is to recruit and keep quality personnel by adjusting compensation to competitive ranges, training support, cross-training, and staff involvement. Every department and every employee is valuable. And department equality in management criteria is critical for this goal. There are no favorites, only uniformity in approach to human resources. It has been a multi-year plan to gradually increase salaries and benefits in order to be more competitive in this area of Texas. We've not yet totally met that goal, but the continued effort is reflected in the upcoming budget. The third one was prepare for demands of growth and development. This has been and continues to be a multi-year approach to the budget for every department. Administration, public works, fire, police have all been looking at these upcoming needs and how the departments will be impacted. Only one example, and I could go through every department and give you an example, but I'm only going to give you one. An example is the fire department. Upcoming needs were assessed in a 5-year plan to move toward becoming a paid department in anticipation of the expectations of the developers and upcoming contracts for service. The first step was to budget for contract labor being on site to decrease response time and to offer faster life-saving services to the community as a whole, in addition to meeting the expectation of the developers. This plan also has implications on addressing the legal and safety standards for the fire department's facilities and recruiting quality personnel. Likewise, this approach will be helpful in all departments for the city. As a city council, we should not lose sight of these priorities and the budgeting plan to meet these goals. It is our charge by oath of office and oath to the citizens of Rome to provide legal and safe infrastructure, to retain quality staff who provide quality services to the citizens, and to be prepared for the systemic change that growth is demanding. We have made great strides in the last few years. We are on the cusp of bringing Rome up to the compliance for the balance of our infrastructure. I mean, it almost brings me to tears to know that we are this close to having the infrastructure of Rome to be safe and to be legal. As the City Council has discussed, once these major goals are met, then as a city, we can begin to expand our horizons to include community outreach. And let me tell you, I can hardly wait till that moment comes where we can do something as a community to celebrate together. But we had to have these priorities. They started 3 years ago. We are getting closer every time that we work through our budget. And I hope that those of you that are new to this budget process understand that it has been laborious for all of us for all of these 3 years. And it's not short-sighted, it's long-sighted. What we're doing for this budget will be carried over to the next budget because we haven't met all of our goals. And so I just want to say thank you for all of the work to the rest of the City Council members. For us to have vision, for us sometimes to have taken a lot of heat, but we are making progress and our town is moving where it needs to be. And I rejoice with that. And I thank you for allowing me to recap the City Council's priorities relative to budget planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
And does anybody want to add anything to that? Okay, so now we're going to end our regular session. It is 8:35 p.m. and we're going to move into executive session pursuant to the following designated actions of the Texas Government Code. Chapter 551, Texas Open Meetings Act. The council may convene into executive session to discuss the following. Section 551.071, consultation with attorneys, pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offer, or to seek advice from the attorney. Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. If deliberations in an open meeting could have detrimental effect on the position of the governmental body in negotiations with a third person. Section 551074 personnel, discuss appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment of duties, discipline or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee in executive session unless the officer or employee requests it be in public. Lastly is section 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations, to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the city has received from a business prospect that the city seeks to locate, stay, or expand in or near the city in which the city is conducting economic development negotiations. And our discussion when we go into executive session will be on horse court. So after our deliberations in the executive session, we will reconvene into regular session. So you guys want to have a 5-minute break or go straight to executive session? If nobody speaks up, we are going straight.
Let's go straight there.
Go straight. We're going straight on the thing. So y'all log out of this one and log into executive session.